So I would like you to grab the paper that says Color Monster. We've already done this project. I'm just showing you what your lesson plans can look like instead of the very long, complicated version that you typically do. The lesson plans that are longer, that are required by the education department, I would like you to have one that full-fledged for the very first project that we did, which was Picasso. You already did that and turned that in. A couple of you, I had you add a rubric and resubmit it, so make sure I get that. And then I sent out an email. Did you guys get it? Mm-hmm. Okay, so go ahead and do the full-fledged reel for Fauvism Matisse. Hopefully that's one that you already did because we did that project a while back. From that point on, the rest of your lesson plans can look more like this, very simple. So if you just look at this, at the very top it has what class we are in, and then it says Fine Arts for elementary school teachers. Where it says adjunct professor me, you can just put your name, put your first and last name, and then I want you to indicate upper or lower elementary, depending on what you think the project would be. You can see on Hat and Mittens it says lower elementary, and on Color Monster upper elementary. So I think that these two projects are more geared toward either the Hat and Mittens lower and the Color Monster upper. And then I want you to write what your lesson would be. This is what you plan on teaching. This is how you plan on presenting your lesson. And you can see that I used large font on this. This can all be condensed into one page if you wanted it to be. So this is basically how you could word it, list it. This is what your general lesson is. A list of materials, notes. Where I put notes, this is what I write on the board. This is what I'm going to put on the board because I want you to definitely know this from my lesson. And then on the back page, if you were evaluating this project after a child did this painting, these are the things that you could grade them on. Their drawing ability, painting, mixing colors, following directions, putting their name on the back. You could grade them on neatness. So you can decide what you want to grade them on. But this is an example of what your lesson plans can look like. Sound better? Yes?
Do you want us to include like a full rubric in this?
You can just put evaluation and list the things you plan on evaluating them for.
And then I already have some done for like the other
Keep
one.
those
Okay.
with it. The ones that you have done, turn those into me as opposed to this. But from this point on, you can write them like this. And if there are any that you haven't done yet, you can write them like this. This one says Hat and Mittens. We're actually going to do this one today. So you got one done. But obviously you'd want your name on here. So it just has my lesson. The goal of this lesson is to teach children how to create pattern and to repeat it. Today you are a fashion designer. Your job is to design matching hat and mittens. You are going to create a pattern and repeat it. You'll be repeating your lines, shapes, and colors. And then I have a list of the materials that you need today. And then the notes that I wrote on the board over there. And then things you could evaluate them on would be their cutting skills, neatness, creating repetition and repeating it, creating and repeating a pattern, following directions, name on back. So this one, done for you. Basically, these two, done for you. So today we're doing two different projects, and we'll just start with the Pointillism project. So for the Pointillism project, we're going to talk for a minute about George Seurat. George Seurat is the founder of Pointillism. He and his friend both spent a lot of time doing Pointillism, which is little tiny dots of color that work together to create a giant painting. How many of you have seen a painting by George Seurat in Chicago? In London. Oh my gosh. Lucky you. Okay, Chicago has one of his most famous paintings called A Sunday Afternoon. Of course, this doesn't do it justice. When you're teaching your class, project it so that the kids can see it. This is a fun picture. It's in Chicago. I saw it in Chicago while I was standing there looking at this giant painting. This painting is actually 6 feet 10 inches tall by 10 feet 1 inches wide. It's giant. So I was in Chicago looking at this painting, and the people right in my peripheral vision, the guy got down on his knee and proposed to his girlfriend right in front of me. And I had my camera, and I took a picture of them, and I mailed it to them. So, let's see. This is one of his most famous paintings. It took him 2 years to complete, even though it is that big, and it would just compare to being this tall and this wide, very large. He still did it with all these tiny dots. The tiny dots work together to create the desired color. Like red and yellow dots beside each other would create the appearance of orange. Yellow and blue dots together would look green. He didn't mix his colors on his palette. He just used the pure color. So our project is just going to be a little wintry snow globe with a Pointillism snow globe. Maybe early elementary, but any child would enjoy doing a project like this to take home for mom, you know, at Christmas time. So we're going to make a snow globe in the style of George Seurat. The first thing I want you to do is grab one of your white pieces of paper. These papers are pretty thick. This was just here in the room. And this is like cardstock, like a Christmas card would be printed on. We're going to make our own template so that you guys have it. If you're ever teaching elementary school in the winter and you want to make a snow globe with your kids, you'll already have the template to start with. So you're just going to trace the circle and the base so that you have these and cut them out so you have your own template. So go ahead and trace the circle, pass it around. Go ahead and trace the base and pass it around. As soon as you are done tracing it, you can go get a pair of scissors and start cutting. So I want everybody to have their own template of the circle and the base. This is not going to be as sturdy, but you guys can still use this to trace around. When you get done tracing your circle and base, you can cut them out because you're making your own templates to go with your lesson plan.
Good.
It was really good. It was like a sour apple.
Yeah. I think it tasted cinnamon.
Cinnamon apple?
Maybe.
cut it out of your thick paper first.
Okay, but then trace it on that.
Yes.
Okay.
Are you guys all done with this one? Oh, that's yours.
Yes,
Where'd
yeah.
you cut it? Never mind.
I don't know where the other one went.
Okay.
It's right here.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
okay.
Is this?
Yes. We had your
Yep. So everybody trace the circle. Did you guys all get the base too? Okay. Yep. When you get done, use your template, lay it on the blue paper,
Yes.
trace
No,
around it,
what are you
and
doing?
cut it out.
This one's mine.
That must be yours.
Thanks.
Is it too big? You can get a different piece of paper. Then you're going to trace the base onto the brown paper and cut it out. You can use brown or black or any color. I think in the lesson plan I wrote brown or black. Either one would look good. So when you get done, you should have a blue circle and a brown base. We're not going to glue them together yet.
Yeah, you get the little dark ones right there that are like the patches. You look at what? Oh, you're not.
What's happening?
I don't know. Justine being Justine, maybe. My already decorated for Christmas in November for.
No. Never too early.
Perfect time. November 15th, that's today. No, I remember breaking news. Realize what today.
My mom decorates the day after Thanksgiving.
Yeah, actually, we usually do too. With the tree.
I don't think so. With a tree? Oh, do you have an artificial? You just go and get a tree the day after
Get a
Thanksgiving?
tree the day after.
They have them the day
We put ours up the day after Thanksgiving. Sometimes before.
but they go and get there.
We get the last trees.
Like, we go
They
and buy
might get
trees.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have it.
Yeah, mine's Thanksgiving.
We go and get them. Well, my parents do. I'm not at home anymore. So.
You don't set up your tree together though? No.
We do.
I'm
Well,
the only one who
sometimes
sets up the
actually.
tree.
Are you serious?
Yeah, sometimes Michelle will if she's home.
I'm
Parents
not
don't
allowed.
like-
I'm not allowed to touch my tree.
My parents don't like doing it
It's
anymore.
all like this nonsense.
I don't think I did this last year.
I'm not allowed to touch my
And then I put up my grandma's tree. She said, I won't do it. We're like, Grandma, you put your tree up. So we do that at Thanksgiving and then we take it down at her house after Christmas.
So you need orange paint, white paint, brown paint, black paint, and red paint. Just a little bit of tempera paint. You also need Q-tips. With the Q-tips, sometimes you have to twist them. Make sure you keep twisting them in one direction. It'll keep it wrapped tight. If you twist it back and forth, it just gets really big. But if you need to, like if it starts to get too big, just twist it around in one direction and it'll tighten up the fibers. So we're gonna start with a snowman. Do you wanna start right in with the little dots, or do you wanna sketch your snowman first? Alrighty, so I practiced this a couple of times, and what worked the best was just to make a little head first. So I just started with a little snowman head. And then you can fill it in with little dots. And if you push if you push down, then the dots are bigger. If you just barely touch, they're really cute and tiny. When you get done with that one, you can draw the middle parts. And then fill it in with little dots. After you do the middle part, fill it in with little dots. And then go ahead and do the bigger part. The bigger part of the body will go all the way down to the bottom of the circle. And if your Q-tip just gets too weird, feel free to grab a new one.
Is that a joke? Yeah, it was. Jokes me.
Yep, make the bottom of the snowman. And fill it in with little dots.
My mom's first time in our kitchen, so. They brought it home.
You can take your Q-tip and put little dots of snow coming down. I did, I flipped to the other side.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Oops. So add some snow to the background.
Oh, okay. Tyler is from his station.
No, he's not.
Yes, he is.
When you get done with your white Q-tip, you can throw it in the trash.
She's bright.
We used to go last semester when we with that same classroom with you. Or I guess it wasn't last semester. It was called. Yeah, they did alright. But each of them also had a college student tour. Or like every 2 or 3.
I practiced putting little scarf and things on with Pointillism, and it didn't go very well. So I am just using the Q-tip as a paintbrush to put the scarf on like this. A little red scarf. You can use Pointillism for your scarf if you want to.
Where are you putting your users from? Or should that?
also giving my snowman earmuffs. And he is coordinated because today we're also talking about being a fashion designer. So his scarf and earmuffs match each other.
Nina, would you like to take a
Right after.
Yeah, right after Mallory did.
But then I can't twist my Q-tip and it flies all over. Because I want a certain circumference of lawn. Sounds way too complicated.
I'm then putting the top of the earmuffs on and some eyes with black. I was going to give him tiny eyes, but one got really big. So they both had to be big. I know I'm going fast. That's okay. You can go at your own pace. Next is a carrot nose. The final step would be to add twig arms.
Can we give them a smile or no?
Yeah. And you can do whatever you want to. If you want to add more to it, you can. You can add little buttons, whatever you want to do. The final step would be to use glue down here and glue it onto the base.